Following the victories of Tadej Pogacar in the Tour of Flanders and Mathieu van der Poel in Milano-San Remo and Paris-Roubaix, I posted 2 tweets on my account, Uncle Cycling, referring to what had happened. The first called for peaceful protests if you truly believe that a cyclist is a dirty doper or if you simply don't like them. This was, of course, in response to what happened with the hater, the idiot who threw a full bottle at Poulidor's grandson in the middle of the race. A despicable, sickening act that I hope will have the appropriate legal consequences for putting the physical integrity and safety of a professional cyclist at risk. The second tweet was equally clear. Where is Jonas Vingegaard? Just a year and a half ago, no one doubted that the Dane, because it's always a Dane, was the rider to beat, the model to follow in the Grand Tours. While the world champion and Slovenian alien Pogi is fighting for all kinds of races, our beloved anchovy from the Jutland peninsula is not competing in World Tour races. And experts close to the Visma team, such as the Dutch former cyclist Bobby Traskell, claim that Vingegaard is absolutely scared shitless after his crash in the 2024 at Zulia. Just what is happening to Jonas? Let's analyse the possible causes and then we can draw our own conclusions. And remember that you can also follow me on my soccer channel at Failed Sharks for more content. And now, let's see what 2025 has in store for our diminutive Great Dane. The crushing defeat in the 2024 Tour de France against an unbeatable Pogacar who, let's not forget, won 6 stages and finished more than 6 minutes ahead of Vingegaard, despite the latter being, according to himself, at his best ever, well, it had a noticeable effect on the former fish cleaner. Afterwards, he only competed in the Klassiker San Sebastian, which he abandoned, and in a minor competition, the Tour of Poland, which he won against lesser rivals, such as the former doper Diego Ulissi and his veteran teammate Wilco Kelderman, who hasn't won a race in the last 10 years. He then justified that, as he was becoming a father for the second time, his season was over and he needed to rest with his family to recover both physically and mentally. This decision did not sit well with legendary doping director Johan Bruneel, who fiercely criticised Vingegaard for not putting his family problems aside to compete in prestigious races such as the Giro di Lombardia or the World Cycling Championships. It was as if Jonas were actually afraid of falling behind Tadej Pogacar in those competitions, further reinforcing Remco Evenepoel's harsh statements during the 2024 Tour de France when he said, "Vingegaard doesn't have balls." Now, on a personal level, I didn't put much importance on Vingegaard's performances because, with the exception of the 2023 Vuelta a España, where he finished in second place and could easily have won, I can't really recall a competitive post-Tour Vingegaard. And also, it's important to remember that in Denmark, historically since the triumph of the beloved bald man and friend of the channel Bjarne Riis, the Tour de France is much, much more important than other cycling races. It may be unfair to riders like Mats Persson or Kasper Asgreen or Magnus Kort, who've always competed for other goals, but it's the reality. That's Denmark. A victory for Jonas Vingegaard in the Tour is received with much, much more joy in Copenhagen than a World Championship win for Mats Persson. Now that's all well and good, but what has happened in 2025? Jonas Vingegaard started the season well, or not in the same overwhelming fashion as in those Au Gran Camino races where he crushed his rivals, pissing in their faces with absolute ease. Without showing any great climbing ability, he did demonstrate great power in the time trial of the Volta Algarve, and he won the Portuguese competition against a great local rival in João Almeida, and we thought we were going to see the classic, competitive, vintage Jonas in the rest of the calendar all the way to the Tour de France. But that was not the case. In Paris-Nice, we even saw cracks appearing within the Visma team. After winning the team time trial with authority, the American Matteo Jorgensen took the lead. But next day, on the climb to La Loge des Gardes, Vingegaard attacked his own teammate in search of his first high mountain victory of the season. The move backfired as João Almeida closed the gap in the final meters, overtaking him. And then the wrath of Jorgensen began, a man who'd always worked for Jonas Vingegaard, and here was his chance to win another World Tour stage race. Paris-Nice, clearly a lesser goal for Vingegaard, but an important one for Jorgensen. The selfish anchovy had taken the yellow jersey, but in exchange he now had an extremely angry teammate, and he hadn't even won the stage. The next day, Jonas suffered another mishap with a crash. Despite finishing the day in a respectable position, he didn't start the next day's stage. Another DNF for the team plagued by problems, iliac problems, strange illnesses. And that's when the ordeal of our beloved Danish anchovy really began. It doesn't help that your Visma director, Grisha Nierman, blatantly lies to the press, claiming that Jonas's withdrawal from Paris-Nice was due to depression over not being able to defend the yellow jersey. That was clearly false. It had to be Jonas himself who, in an interview with the Danish newspaper BT, confirmed that he had suffered a concussion, one which was causing dizziness and would prevent him from participating in the Volta Catalunya. The problem is that in his scheduled calendar, Catalunya was the last race he was going to compete in until the Criterium Dauphiné in June, a 3-month break, one which has now increased to almost 4 months because of that crash in Paris-Nice. And that's when the theories start to emerge, explaining what Vingegaard is doing right now. Hold on to your hats. Now, one very clear theory compares the Danish climber to the character Vegeta in Dragon Ball, stuck in a water tank with a hypoxia mask while trying to train and recover. Mathieu van der Poel did it to beat Tadej Pogacar in the Spring Classics. He had to train hard. He had to miss races in order to be in the best shape of his life to beat the world champion twice in 3 weeks. And we might think that Jonas is doing the same thing, preparing for months on end to beat the best cyclist in the world in the biggest race of the season, the Tour de France. And in exchange, he can't add to his list of achievements or even entertain the idea of winning other races that could be within his reach, such as the Giro d'Italia. Now, this is clearly a plausible explanation, but it would only serve to enhance the stature of his great Slovenian rival Pogi, who doesn't mind tackling the cobbles of Roubaix or the narrow roads of the Ardennes, even though his main goal is the Tour de France. But then there's another conspiracy theory that I have heard rumours about. There are voices within cycling who don't trust the Danish cyclist, not a jot. Now, of course, he has never tested positive in any competition to date, as far as we know. But he has missed the testers who were going to carry out a doping control on him in his first season as a professional in 2019. The reason being, according to him, because he didn't hear his doorbell or his smartphone. And so Jonas has been on the list of the most suspicious riders to be monitored by the authorities. The company he kept at the time, such as that of the doper Antoine Tolhoek, well, that didn't help to clean up his image either. And then there are these strange absences from major competitions, plus a rumour that the Visma team was extremely lucky with its doping tests in the 2023 Vuelta a España, all of which adds up to mean that Vingegaard is someone that the anti-doping authorities want to watch. But that is not my opinion, of course. That is the conspiracy theory. Jonas may want to clear up these rumours, as he currently wants to have a spotless image in the eyes of the authorities so that he can compete on equal terms against Pogi in the 2025 Tour de France. But look, whatever the reason, knowing that, at least for now, Vingegaard has no serious health problems, we can only wish the Danish cyclist a full recovery, because unless Evenepoel makes an express recovery, the Dane is possibly the only cyclist capable of shaking the Slovenian alien from UAE. Needless to say, we will be watching closely because personally, I don't believe that this is the beginning of the end for the Dane. Not for a second.